I didn't even blink when the red wine spread across the silk of my wedding dress, like a bleeding wound. I just stood there, watching her. My mother-in-law held her head and smirked, her lips curling like she just won a prize. Accidents happen, she said lightly, but her eyes challenged me, dared me to fall apart in front of everyone. I didn't, not because it didn't hurt, but because I already knew something she didn't. I knew exactly who she was. I'd seen behind the facade, the perfectly curated image, the sugar-coated words. And in less than an hour, everyone else was going to see it too. I met her before I even met my husband. She seemed amazing at first, too amazing. She hugged me like I was a long-lost daughter, told me I was a breath of fresh air, the kind of woman her son had always needed. She built me up like a dream. I wanted to believe it. I really did. During that first year, she brought me homemade soup when I had a cold, bought me pretty dresses just because, and introduced me to everyone as her future daughter-in-law. She spoke softly, smiled sweetly, pretended to adore me. But then things shifted. Not all at once, just enough to make me question myself. A comment here, a mocking glance there, a strange feeling I couldn't shake. I'd hear things like, "Don't get too comfortable. He's just being kind," or "You should be grateful he picked you." Or the one that stayed in my chest like a stone, "You're not really his type. He usually goes for better." I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was just insecure or afraid of losing control over him. But I didn't really see the truth until one day, when my husband was in the shower, and a message popped up on his phone. A message from her. Not a mother talking to her son. A woman whispering poisonous secrets. She thinks she knows him, the message read. But don't worry, she won't last. My breath froze. My pulse didn't. I scrolled further. There were months of messages, manipulating him quietly, filling his head with doubt about me, trying to pull strings she didn't even own. And in that moment, everything clicked. She wasn't afraid of losing her son. She was afraid of losing her power. That throne she built in her own mind. Yeah, she wanted to stay queen forever. I didn't confront her or my husband that night. No screaming, no crying. Instead, I got strategic. I smiled through the insults, pretended not to notice the jabs. Meanwhile, I gathered everything, screenshots, recordings, witnesses, things she didn't even know she'd given me. Carefully, quietly, I watched and waited. I wasn't playing her game, I was writing the ending. And I knew exactly when I'd flip the script on the wedding day, because nothing pulls masks off faster than a spotlight. When I walked back into the reception hall, the room was dimmed, everyone quiet. The lights flickered low, and before I reached the aisle, the screen behind me lit up. I stood there, staring straight ahead as the first recording played. Her voice, her comments, her laughter as she mocked my family, her calls to friends, bragging about how she was manipulating her own son, how she'd convinced him to doubt me. I'd heard every clip before. Of course, that's why I chose them. Every lie, every fake smile, every whisper that dripped like poison, it was all there, on full display. 200 people sat frozen, stunned. Her friends, her cousins, her carefully curated social circle. And then there was him, her son, my husband, turning pale as the truth clicked into place. Every word she said echoed through the room. She's temporary. She'll never fit in. I'm just protecting him. He was hearing his mother for the very first time, without the pretty packaging. I walked down the aisle slowly, the room silent except for the audio playing behind me. When I reached the front, he stepped toward me. His face looked broken, but sincere. "How long have you known?" he whispered. "Long enough," I said. "Long enough to let everyone else hear the truth for themselves." He looked at me, then at her, and then he said, "I'm sorry." I didn't want to believe she could do this. She snapped loud, shaking with rage. "You're taking her side? After everything I've done for you?" He looked her straight in the eye and said quietly, "Exactly. After everything you've done," and that was it. Her crumbling moment. Her castle of manipulation falling apart in front of the crowd she used to impress. Later that night, once the shock turned into awkward silence and then quiet gossip, she found me alone by the dressing rooms. Her voice was nothing like the soft cooing I heard years ago. "You ruined me," she hissed. I smiled, not smug, not cruel, just calm. "No," I whispered, leaning in. "You ruined yourself. I just offered the front row seats." She didn't respond. For the first time, she couldn't. Because she finally realized something too late. I wasn't the fragile, naive girl she thought she could break. I was a woman who stayed silent, watched everything, waited for the perfect moment. And when I struck, it was decisive. As I stood later beside my husband, surrounded by people who finally saw the truth, I realized something with absolute clarity. She hadn't spilled wine to ruin me. She did it to expose herself. And I simply stepped aside and let her. If this story made you feel something, drop a like. Comment I choose myself if you believe in self-worth over validation. Hit subscribe for more stories that remind you how powerful you really are.